Happy roster drop day. Hello everyone, this is Kwesi from the Africans, and on today's video, we're going to go over the Canadian men's national team roster drop that happened today, on Monday, January 24th. If you haven't done so already, take a minute to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this roster, what excites you, what are your concerns, and what do you think they're going to do. So, let's get right into it. No real slub. We're just going to jump right into it. So the roster was dropped today. It's a 25-man roster. I'll give you the names right here. You'll probably see them on the screen here as well. So we have Sam Adekubi, Milan Borjan, Tejan Buchanan, Lucas Cavallini, Derek Cornelius, Maxime Crépeau, Jonathan David, Stephen Eustachio, Liam Miller, Liam Fraser, Christian Gutierrez, Daniel Henry, Junior Hoylett, Atiba Hutchinson, Alistair Johnston, Mark Anthony Kay, Scott Kennedy, Kyle Laren, Richie Larea, Jason Lutwiller, Kamal Miller, Jonathan Osorio, Sam Piet, Ike Ugbo, and Steven Vittoria, which is a really good way to do it. So if you're looking for a bit of a breakdown, this is how it basically breaks down. We have 3 keepers, 6 center backs, 3 wing backs / fullbacks, potentially 6 midfielders. Listed here, this is where it gets interesting. Listed, you could argue we either have 4 wingers or we only have 2. Because I'm using Alex Gagiruzik's. Well, I'm sorry I messed up your name, Alex. You can come at me in the comments, but I'm sorry. He has them listed as 4 wingers. So you have Kyle Laren playing as a winger, Liam Miller playing as a winger, Tejan Buchanan and Junior Hoylett. Now, based off past, you normally use Kyle Laren as a striker. With that, Cavallini, Evan Hoylett, who can play that striker role. We saw him do that at the Gold Cup when we were down a few strikers, and he played up top, almost as that secondary striker. You could almost call him that. So I'm going to call him a secondary striker, or almost a cam in this situation. It gives us 5 strikers and 2 wingers, not to mention the other 3 wing backs. So that's a bit of a breakdown of that roster and what that looks like. I think the story for Canada this window is going to be, of course, playing without Alphonso Davies, which most of the people will be looking at. I think the second story is going to be how long is Stephen Eustachio going to be out. There was a report that he had tested positive for COVID-19, and there was a bit of a confusion because he was just announced for his move to Porto, which, by the way, congrats. Finally, it happened. But not having Eustachio and Davies for 2 matches will be interesting, but it will go. So I think for the who made it aspect, I think what makes this interesting is having Junior Hoylett, who we assume would not be available as he did have a hamstring injury in his game at the championship. So with him there, you're probably going to see not going to be pacing too much at the winger. In terms of this roster surprises, not really a surprise. Someone who's always been knocking on the cusp of this team, Christian Gutierrez, finally making it onto the squad. We are excited to see him play here. And this should be interesting. But we'll go to disappointments and questions a little bit later. But actually, Christian Gutierrez, who plays that left wing back role for the Vancouver Whitecaps, is an interesting name who can come in and play well. But this kind of comes into a disappointment and more of an interesting question for this team. Without Eustachio or Davies, who is available for set pieces for Canada? Those are your 2 major set piece takers. Now, in the past, we have seen Junior Hoylett take them, whether those be corners or free kicks, but we don't have anyone there. An interesting name that we have seen him score a few goals at club level is the ageless Atiba and Steven Vittoria. I think those 2 would be good options and good points to go through. But overall, a solid squad. Those would be the things surprising me. I think the disappointing thing for a lot of fans and for me, based off the breakdown I gave, is 3 names, for example, and that kind of leads to a bigger point. Theo Corbianu. You know what? Corbianu. We're going to run it until he says otherwise. So Theo Corbianu, who just got his move to MK Dons, playing well. Stefan Mitrovic playing in the Serbian League. Harry Patton, who was playing well up until injury. Those are 3 names we were thinking might be involved in this squad. especially from the standpoint of no Alphonso Davies and no David Witherspoon, another forgotten name who would have been part of this team, probably at over a player like Liam Fraser, who just got to move as well. That leads into another question, which is there's a bit of a lack of wingers in this team. Again, flexibility across the board, but real solid wingers on the squad, Liam Miller and Tajon Buchanan. Usually Kyle Aaron, we play him as a striker. Now, he can play wing, which is interesting, but I think that is the disappointment for me in the squad. Also a bigger squad. We're only bringing 25 players on the squad, which if you take out Steven Eustáquio right now, that's 24. You have squads like the US who brought 28, and other squads are in that level, in that range. But, I mean, this is the world we're in. So I think that's what disappoints me about this squad. When you look at the roster, what the roster tells me is because of the lack of outright wingers. Can we play players at wingers? Yes. But this roster to me feels like a 3-5-2, 4-4-2 type roster. Right? It just feels like that type of a roster because then you can play around with players like Sam Adekubi, Richie Laryea. You can play them as wingers, and then you can play more of the midfielders in midfield roles or play with the wingers in that midfielder role as well with two strikers. So that way you can put like maybe a Hoyland at a right midfielder and then play three midfielders along with them. Or you could play Gutierrez a little bit up on the pitch with a Sam Adekubi. Or you can drop Liam Miller a little bit lower there and have either David and Larin or David and Ugbo or even Hoylett and David or Hoylett and Cavallini. There are possibilities that come in with that. So I think the way that this roster is to me, it feels like a 4-4-2 a 4-4-2, 3-5-2 type roster. So I think dueling strikers is going to be a theme here. I think it'll be interesting. I'm really curious to see what that looks like. In terms of expectations for this window, I think, and this is where we get into an interesting conversation. What is important here? Without Davies, a lot of people in CONCACAF are looking at this Canadian team saying maybe they could drop. But, I mean, we have performed without him, which is true. For me, I think acceptable and realistic is 6, but then it comes with caveat. I'm wondering what you feel about this. Now, there is a point that you shouldn't try to control the game as much, but here is where I'll give you my scenario. So on this roster right now, there are 6 players who have yellows. Now, those 6 players are Steven Eustáquio, Marc-Anthony Kaye, Samuel Piette, Sam Adekubi, Steven Vittoria, Richie Laryea, and Daniel Henry. I said 6 and it was 7. And last time I said 7, it was 6. I'm on fire. So with that amount of players, to me, I'm almost thinking from a standpoint, let's go for wins. I think the two on paper easiest matches are Honduras and El Salvador, but we are playing in Central America. So my logic and thinking would be, let's attack those 2 road games and try to get results there. That way we can also rotate the squad for Hamilton, and we can hopefully have a full squad to go for El Salvador, which by that point, based off of the last time we played them, they don't have as deep as a team. So I think that would be the interesting thing that we could look at. So in my mind, I think my strategy would be go hard for those road wins, but also pick up those additional yellows. Again, not intentionally, but like get those additional yellows in that sense, so that you can get like a Kaye, Adekubi, Vittoria, Laryea, quote unquote, suspended, but then you get their week off in Hamilton, and then you can rotate the squad that way. I mean, Hutch isn't going to play all 3 games, we know that. So getting Osorio is going to be huge. Fraser is going to be huge as well. Just get him in. Piette as a CDM definitely has the opportunity to really play well and do stuff. So I think that would be one way to look at it. I've seen some people say anything as low as 5, maybe 4 being pessimistic. 7 doesn't sound impossible. We have to give John Herman credit for what he can do. But I think for me, I think going for the 2 road wins, 6 would be ideal. Or if you draw those first 2 and then get the win at 5, against El Salvador, I think that is definitely doable as well. I think those are my expectations, what I would love to see. Now, in terms of players who I'd be interested who could have a good window, I think definitely an interesting name to watch outside of the ones that we normally look at would be probably Mark Anthony Kaye and Jonathan Osorio playing in that midfield without Steven Estacio, seeing what they're able to really do. The other sneaky midfield name, but also overall team name, would be Junior Hoylett. I think if they do try to go four at the back and play Hoylett either in that attacking midfield role or somewhere in that pace, I think he definitely could create and unleash a few of those wingers, whether they be Miller and Buchanan going down. But overall, I believe also Kyle Larin is going to be the name that we're going to be looking at. Jonathan David can go. Sneaky name. I'm just naming a bunch of people I know. This just feels really unfair. But I think a name that could have a big window if given the opportunity, I think he will be Ike Ugbo. I think based off of striker form, he's probably the best form of our strikers right now. So having a player like that could be very intriguing to see him come through and play well. And I'm really excited to see him. But you let me know what you think. What are your expectations for this roster, this window? What are you excited for this roster? Are you disappointed? What players you wish you could have seen? Let me know in the comments down below. And we're going to enjoy this as we go on. Keep on following us here as well as on podcasts. And we'll be doing a few more extensive breakdowns for games coming up and reaction to those games there as well. Looking forward to having you guys on this journey. Thank you again. This is Quincy from the African saying bye-bye for now.